Last year, researchers at Harvard Medical School ran a study. They wanted to find the single most effective intervention for long-term cardiac health. They tested swimming, they tested cycling, they tested jogging, they tested resistance training. Then they looked at something so ordinary, most of their colleagues questioned why it was even included. Stair climbing. What they found stopped them. Not because it performed well, because it outperformed interventions that cost thousands of dollars to replicate in a clinical setting. And the staircase had been sitting there the entire time. In every building, in every home, completely free, completely available, yet completely ignored. Your heart has been waiting for that staircase every single day of your life. Think about this morning. You had a choice. Perhaps you did not register it as a choice, but it was one. The lift doors were open, or the escalator was running, or the ground floor simply felt close enough to where you needed to be. And the stairs were there, waiting. Going somewhere you needed to go, but requiring something from you to get there. Most people choose the easier option. Every single time, without guilt, without consequence they can feel. Because nothing seems to happen when you choose the lift. You arrive at the same floor, in roughly the same time, feeling exactly the same. But something did happen. Inside your chest, something was denied its daily stimulus. Your heart muscle was not asked to do what it was specifically designed to do. Your coronary arteries did not receive the signal they needed. Your cardiac cells did not experience the demand that keeps them responsive and strong. You arrived at the same floor, but your heart arrived slightly less prepared for the decade ahead than it could have been. And it happens every time, every single day, without you feeling a thing. Understanding what stair climbing does to your heart, you first need to understand something about cardiac muscle that most people never learn. Your heart is a muscle. Most people know this intellectually, but they do not apply to the heart what they understand about every other muscle in the body. Muscles respond to demand. Apply consistent demand, and the muscle adapts. It grows stronger. Its blood supply improves. Its efficiency increases. Remove demand, and the muscle gradually declines. It weakens. Its blood supply reduces. Its efficiency drops. Your heart obeys this principle as precisely as any other muscle in your body. The difference is that your heart cannot rest between sessions the way your bicep can. It beats approximately 100,000 times every day of your life. But the type of demand matters. Resting beats and exertion beats are not the same thing. Resting beats maintain circulation. Exertion beats, the kind that happen when you climb stairs, create a specific stimulus that resting beats never produce. That stimulus is called cardiac preconditioning. Cardiac preconditioning is the process by which the heart adapts to repeated bouts of controlled stress. Each episode of moderate exertion, like climbing a flight of stairs, temporarily increases the demand on the heart muscle. Blood flow to the myocardium increases. The myocardium is the muscular wall of the heart. Oxygen delivery increases. The heart muscle responds by becoming more efficient at extracting oxygen from the blood. Over weeks and months of repeated stair climbing, the coronary arteries that supply the heart muscle begin to adapt. They dilate more efficiently during exertion. They develop what cardiologists call functional reserve. Functional reserve is the heart's capacity to increase its output significantly when demanded. In 2018, a study published in the European Heart Journal examined stair climbing habits in 4,560 patients across multiple medical centers. The team was led by Dr. Øyvind Ellingsen at the Norwegian University of Science and Technology. His team found that patients who climbed more than 5 flights of stairs per day showed measurably lower rates of major cardiovascular events over a 5-year follow-up period. The reduction was not marginal, it was significant. Patients who climbed stairs regularly had a 20% lower risk of cardiovascular mortality compared to those who did not. 20% from stairs. Not a gym, not a prescription, just stairs. But what was happening inside the heart to produce that reduction is something most people never hear explained, and it goes considerably deeper than simple exercise. In 1953, a British epidemiologist named Jeremy Morris published a study that changed the course of cardiovascular medicine. Morris worked for the Medical Research Council in London. He had been quietly collecting data for years, not in a laboratory, on London buses. He had become curious about the drivers and conductors of the famous London double-decker buses. The drivers sat, for the entirety of their shift, behind the wheel, stationary from start to finish. The conductors moved, constantly, up and down the stairs of the double-decker, collecting fares, checking tickets, moving between decks repeatedly throughout every shift. Morris compared the cardiac health records of drivers and conductors over years of data. The difference was striking. Bus conductors had significantly lower rates of heart disease than bus drivers. They had fewer heart attacks. When they did have heart attacks, they were less severe. Their survival rates were measurably better. The only meaningful difference between these two groups of men was what they did on those buses all day. One group sat, one group climbed stairs. Morris published his findings in The Lancet in 1953. The paper was titled Physical Activity and the Incidence of Coronary Heart Disease. It was one of the first pieces of scientific evidence demonstrating a direct link between daily physical movement and cardiac health. The medical establishment was not immediately convinced. Physical activity as medicine was not yet a concept that sat comfortably within mainstream cardiology. Some colleagues suggested the conductors simply started healthier, that they self-selected into an active role. Morris anticipated this criticism. He controlled for it as rigorously as the data allowed. The conductors were healthier because of what they did all day, not because of who they were when they started. That paper, published in 1953 on data collected from London buses, is now considered one of the founding documents of exercise cardiology. Jeremy Morris eventually lived to 99 years old. He walked and cycled until the end of his life. He had spent decades telling the world what movement did to the heart. He practiced what he published, every single day. Now I want to go deeper into what is happening inside the heart during those moments on the stairs, because there are mechanisms operating at the cellular level that most people have never heard described, and understanding them changes how you see every staircase you will ever encounter again. The first involves a process called angiogenesis. Angiogenesis is the formation of new blood vessels. Your coronary arteries, the vessels that supply the heart muscle with blood, are not a fixed system. They are dynamic. They respond to the demands placed on the heart. When the heart is regularly asked to work harder than its resting state, it sends chemical signals to the surrounding tissue. One of the primary signals is a molecule called vascular endothelial growth factor. Scientists call it VEF. VEF stimulates the growth of new capillaries within the heart muscle itself. New vessels, new supply lines, more pathways for oxygenated blood to reach cardiac tissue during exertion. This is not a process that happens in a laboratory. It happens inside you. Every time you climb stairs regularly, over weeks and months, your heart is literally growing new blood vessels in response to the demand. A 2020 study published in the Journal of the American College of Cardiology confirmed measurable coronary microvascular improvements in adults who engaged in regular stair climbing over 12 weeks. Participants who climbed between 4 and 7 flights of stairs per day showed significant improvements in coronary flow reserve. Coronary flow reserve is the ratio between maximum blood flow during exertion and resting blood flow. A higher coronary flow reserve means the heart can deliver significantly more blood to its own muscle when demanded. It means the heart has more capacity, more reserve, more resilience. The second mechanism involves the electrical system of the heart. Your heart beats because of electrical signals that travel through specialized tissue called the conduction system. This system coordinates the contraction of the heart's chambers in precise sequence. When the heart is regularly exposed to moderate exertion, something happens to this electrical system over time. The resting heart rate drops. A lower resting heart rate is not simply a number. It represents a more efficient electrical system. A heart that achieves the same output with fewer beats per minute. A heart that has adapted to demand. The average resting heart rate in a sedentary adult is between 70 and 80 beats per minute. In adults who climb stairs regularly over months, the resting heart rate can drop to between 55 and 65 beats per minute. That difference represents approximately 20,000 fewer heartbeats per day. 20,000 fewer contractions the heart does not need to make. 20,000 moments of wear that do not occur. Multiplied across a year, across a decade. The heart that climbs stairs regularly is a more economical heart. It does the same work with less effort. It arrives at each decade of life having spent considerably less of its total capacity, and it has more reserve left for the decades ahead. Here is what I want you to understand about your heart specifically. Every time you climb a flight of stairs, your myocardium receives a demand it was designed to receive. Your coronary arteries respond by dilating more fully than they do at rest. Your cardiac cells experience a level of oxygen demand that triggers adaptation signals. VEGF is released inside your heart muscle. Over weeks of regular stair climbing then, your heart begins growing new capillaries, new supply lines to your cardiac tissue that did not exist before. Your resting heart rate begins to drop. Your coronary flow reserve begins to improve. Your heart is becoming measurably more efficient and more resilient with every flight. Now consider what happens when you consistently choose the lift instead. Your heart never receives that demand signal. Your coronary arteries never experience that dilation stimulus. Your cardiac cells never trigger the angiogenesis response. Your coronary flow reserve stays exactly where it is. Your resting heart rate stays elevated. And your heart arrives at its next decade having never been asked to adapt, having never been given the stimulus that keeps cardiac muscle responsive and strong. The lift did not protect your heart. It simply deprived it of something it needed, quietly, daily, without you feeling anything at all. The application here requires no equipment, no membership, no appointment, no cost of any kind. It requires only a decision made at the bottom of a staircase. Research suggests that climbing between 4 and 7 flights of stairs per day produces measurable cardiovascular benefits. 4 to 7 flights, not a mountain, not an hour of gym work. 4 flights of ordinary stairs taken in the course of a normal day. If you have joint pain in your knees, this requires modification. Climbing stairs places less compressive force on the knee joint than descending. If ascending is manageable, begin there. Descend using the lift if necessary. Any stair climbing is better than none. If you have an existing cardiac condition, consult your doctor before changing your exertion levels. This is not optional advice prescribed. It is clinical responsibility. For everyone else, the prescription is straightforward. Choose the stairs. Not dramatically, not all at once. Begin with 1 flight, then 2. Your heart will tell you when it is ready for more. Not with pain, with the ease that comes after weeks of consistent demand. The heart is the most adaptable muscle in your body. It has been waiting for this stimulus. Every time you walked past the staircase, every time the lift arrived first, it was ready. Jeremy Morris stood on London buses in the 1950s, counting the steps conductors climbed each day. He was not looking for a miracle, he was looking for a pattern. We found one. The men who climbed stairs all day had healthier hearts than the men who sat. He published that finding in 1953. The medical world took years to accept it, but the conductors' hearts did not wait for acceptance. They adapted, day by day, flight by flight, building new vessels, dropping their resting rate, developing the reserve that kept them alive and functional through decades that the drivers did not reach in the same condition. The staircase has not changed since 1953. The heart has not changed. The relationship between them has not changed. Only the choice has changed. And the choice belongs entirely to you. One flight, starting tomorrow.